Hi Graham, nice to see you again.
Hi Jeremy.
Can we just check on team news after Leeds first of all? Any fresh injury worries, and can you update us on the rehabs for El Zate and also Welbeck?
I mean, everybody's fine from the game, no problems. Both players you mentioned are responding really well, getting closer and closer. I think with the next couple of weeks we'd like to hopefully see them with the team training, they're doing well. So we're pleased with that.
Cool. After Leeds, Graham, story was the booing by some Brighton fans. I mean, you've had some time to reflect on that now. What are you thinking nearly 48 hours on?
Well, nothing's really changed from my perspective. I mean, you know how it is after a game. There's emotions, and I think people sometimes, when they reflect back, they think maybe I got caught up in stuff. I think the reaction was, like I said, a bit confusing from my perspective, but it wasn't all of our supporters. You know, it was a few of them, and as disappointing it is, you have to accept that because that's the world we're in. People are entitled to their opinions. I think it's also important to communicate with supporters. It's to speak to them because they're really important. They're the most important people at the club. So you know, if you think that they can maybe help a little bit more, then I think it's important that we're able to communicate with them. Like I said, they're so important to us, and just because they are important doesn't mean to say that they don't need a little bit of help as well. And I think when you look at the team we had, a lot of young players, I think you look at the performance of the team on the night, you look at where we sit in the Premier League at the moment. I think if we want to achieve our goals, we have to maybe collectively be a bit better than we were against Leeds.
A lot of pundits since that game have been coming out and saying that those Brighton fans, they were out of order. Does that give you any comfort?
Well, no, like I said, I think football is an emotional game, and sometimes when it's emotional, you don't think as clearly as you would do, you know, out of that situation. I'm sure there'll be people that maybe had that reaction that maybe now sitting there, okay, maybe that was a little bit over the top, and that's what it is. There'll be times when the team will be booed, and they'll be deservedly booed because that's life, and sometimes we don't perform as well as we'd like and we don't win. I just thought on that particular day, after that performance, it wasn't the best, but again, it wasn't the majority. It's a minority. We've had a load of support I've had loads of messages from supporters, been really positive, really appreciative, really supportive. So it is what it is. I think, like I said, it's important to communicate. It's important to listen to each other. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to mine. And I think the good thing about this football club is we engage with our supporters. We speak. We want to try and be together. We want to try and improve. And I think that's a really healthy part of, you know, our journey to get to where we want to get to.
Sure. How's Neil Maupay after the Leeds game, Graham, and what have you said?
He's good. I mean, he knows that on another day he can score, but at the same time his performance level was good. He doesn't listen to anything outside of the football club, so he's fine. He wants to help the team. He wants to play on Wednesday, and he's looking forward to the game.
It's been suggested though that you need to buy a striker in January or do something to get goals into the team. What do you think?
Well, I keep saying this. I mean, it's something that's come up often in the press conferences, Jeremy, to be honest. So I'm used to the question, and I always say that the job of the football club is to, and I'm included in that, is to always look to try to improve if there is an area we can improve. But just because you identify something, if you do, doesn't mean to say, hey, there's a person out there that fits the structure of the club that is available that makes a difference. At the same time, you look at, you know, our strike force. We've got Danny coming back from injury. Neil's, I think, played 80 games for us, scored 22 goals. He's a 1 in 4 at the moment as he's adapting to the Premier League. It's his first couple of seasons in the Premier League. He's getting better and better with that experience. I think it's too easy to look for an external solution, but I understand when we're not scoring, that's the question, and that's what people want. But I'd like to think that they trust Tony Bloom. They trust the football club. They see the journey that this club's been on. 10 years ago, it was in, I think, the Division 2. Division 1, 10 years ago. So, you know, what the club has done in that time is amazing. And they've done that with making good decisions, good responsible decisions. And that will continue in the area of recruitment. If we can spot any player that we think can improve us, we'll do that. But at the same time, it's really important that we understand the players that we have, the journey that they're on, the point in their career that they're at, that they're still improving, they're still going to make mistakes, they're going to get better. There's a lot to be happy about, a lot to be excited about this club. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Absolutely, and there are 11 teams below you, in the table this Monday after the weekend's games. What about Connolly? He didn't make the squad on Saturday. Will he be back for the West Ham squad?
Yeah, he's in contention. I mean, he's suffered a little bit with injury, a little bit of loss of form, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of everything really, and he's had a bit of what Neil's had in terms of criticism when he's missed or chances have gone away from him. But he's 21 years old. Do you know what I mean? I think we forget that these are still young guys. They're still learning how to be top players in a top league, and they're not the finished article. But he's working hard. He's supporting the team. He'll be in contention for the squad.
What about this game with West Ham, Graham? You've had, I think, 4 meetings with them as the Brighton manager. They've all been draws, and there have been some spectacular games, particularly in London. How do you see this one?
Yeah, it's always tough playing against West Ham. I think the job that David Moyes has done is obviously fantastic because to be in Europe this season, and they've competed well in Europe. They won the group. They're still in the top 4 in the Premier League. It's amazing what they've done. So when you have that type of opponent, of course it's a challenge. But it's as you say, we've had a good performances down up there. In London, we have to go and play well. But our challenge is to maintain the performance level that we had in the night against Leeds United. If we do that, we'll give ourselves a chance in the game, and that's what the Premier League is. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Hi, Graham.
Hi.
Coming back to Mopai, just in your experience of managing him as a striker, is he the sort of guy that likes an arm around the shoulder, or is he someone that responds to a bit of criticism and gets the bit between his teeth?
Well, I think he's like any human being. I think in the right moment, the right context, all those things can help. I mean, I would say he's a complex guy, but a really good guy. One I really enjoy working with because he brings out the best in you as a coach. He does a lot for the team. I think that goes unnoticed, and the team performance against Leeds United was probably one of the best that we've had since my time in the Premier League, and he was part of that performance. So. There's things that he could do because he could have scored, and then on another day he will score. Like I said, he scored 22 goals in 80 matches. In the Premier League, that's not too bad. That's a 1 in 4. When you come from the Championship, it's a good return. Certainly in a team that's getting 41 points to the first 2 seasons. So I really enjoy working with him. I know his qualities. He's a human being, so he's not perfect, just like me and just like you. But we're happy to have him.
How is he complex when you say that word?
We're all a little bit complex, Lindsay, no?
Yeah, we've got our complexities. I'm just wondering from a football point of view.
No, just as I think he wants to succeed so much. He wants to help the team so much. You see that in how he plays the game. He can be really critical of himself. I think the Premier League brings out the big challenges in yourself as a human being, because especially if you're a forward, especially if you're a young forward, especially a forward that's coming from like the Championship or a level below, especially if you're playing for a team like Brighton, with the greatest respect, they're 41 points. So it's not like we're a Champions League team that's creating chances and chances and chances and chances. They don't come around so often. So often you fail, and I use the words in inverted commas, you fail, so you have to deal with that. You have to deal with the scrutiny, and if you care a lot, which Neil does, he cares about the team. It's a challenge for him, but he's unique in terms of how he is as a guy. But fundamentally, when he's on the pitch, you know what you're going to get from him.
Talking of history lessons, and I know you've probably read the same article that 11 years ago you were drawing 1-1 in the FA Cup with FC United as Brighton Football Club. Where do you think supporters' realistic expectations should be this season?
Well, I always say that supporters are entitled to come to a football match and with ambition to think they can win. And I think that's how we've tried to approach every game in the Premier League. Then it's about, okay, how does the game go and what's the opponent and analysing that. But as I said, the emotion of the game, that's not so easy to do because you're caught up in the emotion of the game. And by definition, your brain doesn't think so logically when you're emotional. But I don't accept just because we were in League One 10 years ago that we can't compete and win in the Premier League. I'm just saying there's a bit of context there that we all have to understand. But, we're ambitious. The players are ambitious. They want to improve. They want to do better. But at the same time, if your expectation and your reality is too far away, I think that can cause you a problem.
You look on paper and it's 9 games without a win. But does the performance tell a different story for you watching on?
Well, yeah, of course, it would have to, wouldn't it? Otherwise, that sounds a bit depressing. But again, I've said before, that's the Premier League, that's the competition. The important thing is you pick up points when you don't win. Otherwise, it is not very, very good. And when you look at the league so far, we are, as Jeremy said, above 11 teams. So in the context of the competition, in terms of picking up points, we're still doing okay. Our performances, like I said, against Leeds United was probably one of the best, if not the best, in the Premier League that we've had since my time. The last home game against Newcastle, not so good. The one before against Arsenal, probably as good as any performance we've had in the Premier League. Went away to Liverpool, drew there, again, as positive a performance as I can remember. So there are reasons to be cheerful, Lindsay.
Thank you very much, Graham.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Graham, I know you don't really do social media per se, but there's been a lot of support for you online. You mentioned some messages that you've received. Could you just tell us a little bit about more of that? Have you received emails, letters, and how reassuring is it to hear that from the fans?
Yeah, but both, all of those. Johnny, I don't, as you said, I don't listen to that, and it's not, I couldn't. It's not about. I'll make it clear, I don't care if people boo me. I'd rather they do that because I think that's, that I'm big enough and old enough and wise enough to understand that that's how it is. But I think most of the people, in fact, the majority of our supporters, and even when we're having bad times over the last 2 years, the majority of people have been really, really supportive. Our fans, I think a lot of them understand where we're at, understand what we're trying to do, understand the process, and they've been brilliant with us. The away fans, incredible. But in any walk of life, in any situation, there's always maybe a silent or a small minority that sometimes are louder than the majority, and that can happen. But I don't doubt our support. I don't doubt the majority of fans because I've seen how they are. I've seen how they conduct themselves at the club. I just think sometimes we need to communicate and say, can we be better? Can we be better at the Amex? Can we, if we want to be a top 10 football team, can we be a top 10 environment at the Amex as well? And that's why I said what I said after the game. It wasn't done with an intention to argue with anybody at all, but at the same time I have to communicate to our supporters because they're so important to us.
Aside from Neil, one player who came very close to scoring was Leandro Trossard. Just wanted your thoughts on his progress, particularly in the last sort of 12 months, really. Has he taken his game to another level? He just seems to be so sharp at the moment.
Yeah, he has, and again, I think that's part of our strategy, if you like. It's taking guys that with the greatest respect, they're coming from Belgium or coming from the Championship or coming from under-23s football and saying, okay, how can we help you get to be a regular performer and a top performer in the Premier League? And it's not a magic wand. It doesn't just happen. It's down to Leo, it's down to his work, it's down to his experiences in the league. Like I said, succeeding, failing, taking steps. And I think you're right, this season he's taken another step on. And that's what we hope with all our players. We want them to improve. We've got a good squad, a young squad. Like I said, we had Jeremy Sarmiento coming off the bench, making his Premier League debut. Again, another reason why I was a little bit upset with it at the end, because I don't think a young player needs to hear that as his first experience in football. But again, that's life. But again, he's another exciting player that isn't Premier League necessarily now, but I think he's got the potential to be in the future.
I know you've had to talk a lot about scoring goals, but
That's
even
fine.
David Moyes, whose team's 4th place in the Premier League, has asked for more from his attacking players. How do you see West Ham United, particularly in forward areas, in terms of a challenge?
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of attacking players that are they're in a good moment. I think Antonio scored, I think he's 6 this season. Then they supplement that with Benrahma or Bowen, or so they've got a good combination. Souček and Rice in midfield, really dominant. But yeah, I mean, we're in a process where we all want more, and we all want to improve, and we all want better. And David has got every right to ask that, because that's the coach's job. Like I said, there'll be an element of expectation and reality and context and perspective. But I know that our players can do more, and that's not a criticism for them. I know the potential's there. I know they can improve, but it is a bit of a process as well. I'm not going to be too critical of them. We've just got to try and help them.
Lovely, thanks, Graham.
Cheers.
Henry, if you want to do some questions for tomorrow, a couple of questions for tomorrow, then we'll take hands for Wednesday.